commentary that I've had, like back and forth with so many different women on social media, in the comment sections and on different videos of mine. Was my C-section traumatic? So very quickly, simply, a traumatic experience is defined by the individual. That's it. A traumatic experience is defined by the individual. So I can have an experience, you can have the same experience, exactly the same experience. I find it traumatic and you don't. That means that the experience itself is traumatic or not. The experience itself is actually neutral. What is deciding factors as to whether it's traumatic for me or for you having the exact same thing is based upon our experience, our life experience, things that have happened to us in our past. It's also our beliefs, our fears, our wants, our needs, our nervous system regulation. Those are the things that define whether something is traumatic for you or for me or for someone else. It's not the experience itself. Two examples actually that I want to share, that I normally share when I talk about this. So the first one is somebody walking on their way to work and they get mugged at knife point. Person A fights the mugger for their bag and gets away. They get to work, and when they get to work, they're telling everybody about it, like, you can't believe what happened to me, and they're quite pent up on adrenaline. You know, they're having lots of conversations, and they've called the police, and they're telling everyone about this experience that they had. They go about their day, and then person B, exactly the same situation. They get mugged at knife point. They also fight away the attacker. They get their bag back, and then they go back home and they shut the door. They call and they tell work what's happened, and then they stay inside and they don't leave the house for days. They are now really concerned about leaving the house because they wonder if it's going to happen again. They can't go back to work because they're just not in a place to be able to go back to work now. Their mind is just not there. They stop eating because they are so dysregulated and worried, scared about what has happened. They stop talking to their friends. Their friends come and try and help, but they don't even want to answer the door to anybody. They just want to be alone. Their life has completely derailed, and it was the very same incident. So what's the difference between person A and person B? I would say it's their nervous system and their past experiences. So what if person A was a boxer, let's just say, really confident, they're a very confident person, and maybe they even grew up in maybe the type of area where there are scuffles now and then, or maybe they've even heard of other people that have had this experience before. So they took it on the chin. They were like, yeah, that's just what happened to me. That's their past experiences affecting this incident. And then person B, what if they have never seen or heard of anyone being mugged before? They've never seen a attacker before. They've never had this experience at all. They didn't grow up in a place where this might have happened to them. They have no experience of this whatsoever. Or what if they've had an experience before in their life where they have been attacked before, and then this experience has just triggered what happened before? So an old wound has now just come up again. These are the things that let us know that trauma is defined by the individual. Person A didn't find that situation traumatic due to their past experiences and their nervous system regulation. Person B found that absolutely traumatic, and their whole life has now derailed because of that incident. The incident itself is neutral. It is our experiences that determine whether something is traumatic or not. And the second example that I like to give when I talk about this is I used to run a peer birth trauma support group online. I used to do them in person as well, but this particular one I'm talking about was online. And there was a woman in there who had lost her son, and her son had passed away, and that was due to medical negligence. And then there was another woman in there who had a really traumatic birth and wasn't able to go back to work, and it was affecting her marriage, and things were very, very difficult. A woman who had lost her son said something that I found so profound. Just really see how when all have compassion for all, how we can really see each other. And she said, a woman whose son had died said to this other woman, that my son has died and I have had the utmost support, so much support that I feel that I can actually continue my life. Everyone has rallied around me, and yet there's you. Because your child is alive, people act as though you don't deserve any support. When that interaction had happened, it made me think, and I'm quite sure that's where I came up with the word trauma Olympics, because there are no trauma Olympics. Because I'm sure even in your head now, you have a hierarchy of what you think trauma is, and someone who has lost their child is going to be up here for you. It's going to be at the top, like that is the worst. That's the worst. So if you have this hierarchy in your mind of what trauma should be, so the woman who is in her marriage can't go back to work, is in a bad state of health, not getting the support that she requires, should come under that. But the woman who has lost her child, who actually feels good enough to go back to work and feels good about herself, you put her trauma here. And maybe just take a minute to think, why do you do that? Why do we have this hierarchy of trauma? Why isn't everyone allowed to experience their experiences how they experience them? Who made us? God. That this deserves this kind of treatment and this deserves that kind of treatment. Or who are we to say, well, if this is what happened to you, you should be fine? Who are we to say that? All of that to say, if you believe that your C-section birth was traumatic, then it was. End of discussion. There's no rebuttal. There's no back and forth. It is what it is. If that's how you've experienced it, then that's how you've experienced it, and that's it. It doesn't matter whether you, your mother-in-law, your mother, your grandmother went through X, Y, Z, and therefore that means that you shouldn't feel the way you feel. Nah, I call BS. I call BS on that. We are all individuals. We've all got our own backstories, our own experiences, our own past, and all of those things are shaping everything that we do today, everything that we experience today. So if something to you feels difficult, feels hard, that feels traumatic, but Sarah down the road went through the same thing and she was fine, please don't compare yourself to Sarah down the road. Sarah down the road doesn't have your nervous system. She doesn't have your experiences. You don't have to compare yourself to her or to anybody. If it's traumatic to you, then it's traumatic, and that's the end. That's the end of it. There's no back and forth. I'm not going back and forth with anybody about it. You can't convince me any other way. That's it. Because everybody is an individual. So just treat them that way. Just treat them that way. Let me know in the comments what you think about this. Something's just coming to me now of a conversation that I had a couple of years ago now with a mom who said she didn't think that she was allowed to call her birth experience traumatic because her child didn't die, because of this trauma Olympics that we all quietly have in our minds and our subconscious. So again, another mom who just shoved down her feelings, and then her feelings that she shoved down were coming out, manifesting in her body physically, which is why she was in pain years later, because she didn't feel like she was even allowed to acknowledge how she felt because of this bloody society and making out that you can only be perfect and nothing else. That's it. Women cannot have any other type of feeling bar just being perfect and grateful, and that's it. Again, BS. Let me know. Have you thought to yourself that do you know what I went through was really difficult, but I don't feel like I can share that it was difficult because Sarah down the road went through it and she was fine. All society say that if I say how I feel, then that must mean that I don't love my child and I'm not grateful, so I'm just going to keep it to myself, because this is the C-section healing space, so this is a space where you can share it. Like the video, if this was useful to you, share it with another C-section mum so she knows that she's not alone. I really want to be able to grow this channel so that more women can find it and know that they're not alone, and to remind mums that C-section is not just physical, it's emotional, spiritual, and it's energetic. So subscribe, share, like, comment, and I'll see you next time.